All right, got it.
Well, tell you what, though, when I get the link to that, I will share it. How's
Oh,
that?
I'm sure you will.
If it would have been a bad article, it would have disappeared quick.
Oh, Main Trails, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you read that quick backwards. You did well. You must be a teacher.
Exactly.
Danny Martin, did you go check out the big wheel in Long Lake?
Danny, you're on mute.
I did. It was quite an experience. Another world's record.
Yeah. Did you step on it?
I did not. I did not.
I probably would have got dizzy if I stepped on it.
They did lose an ATV, UTV rather, but they got it out finally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, Darlene, how are we doing? You just told me Cheryl was coming, so like.
That's all right. I answered pretty much everything. We're good to go.
Oh, excellent. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Committee on Transportation work session this afternoon. We appreciate you being with us. The meeting is live streamed on the committee's YouTube, of course, and all participants via Zoom can be seen and heard. The mic is on. The speakers must be recognized by the chair before my spam call comes in. Sorry about that. And it must be recognized by the chair before speaking. Also, the meeting is recorded and available on the committee's YouTube after the meeting is concluded. The work session is not a public hearing. Just a reminder, it's the purposes for the committee to discuss the bills they heard in work session. Members may request through the chair for others to provide information if that's their desire, and the committee vote will be taken by the clerk, and all names must be recorded as that person votes. We want to introduce ourselves to everyone, if we could, and I'm going to start with Senator Farren. Good afternoon, Senator Farren.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Brad Farren. I represent Senate District 3, which is the majority of Somerset County.
Thank you, sir. Senator Chipman.
Not on yet. He's still in the other committee.
All right. Representative Wayne Perry. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wayne Perry. I represent House District 10, which covers Arundel, Dayton, and most of Lyman.
Thank you, sir. And Representative Lynn Williams, who's had the morning off, I hear. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Lynn Williams. I represent House District 135, which includes Bar Harbor, Mount Desert, and Lemoyne. And I am glad to be here. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Next, Representative Dustin White.
Not here.
All right. Representative Mike Perkins.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, and thank you. My name is Mike Perkins. I represent District number 77, Oakland and Sydney.
Thank you, sir. Representative Mark Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Mark Bryant. I represent House District 24, part of the town of Wyndham. Welcome all.
Thank you. Representative Bruce White.
Thank you, Senator. And I'm Representative Bruce White from Waterville, District 109. That's about half of Waterville, actually.
Thank you. Representative Tom Martin.
Not available yet.
Okay. Representative Kevin O'Connell.
Thank you, sir. This is Kevin O'Connell, District 128. I've got 100% of Brewer minus 5%.
Very good. And Representative Rich Zebra.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. I am Representative Rich Zebra. I represent District 68, the lovely towns of Naples, Sebago, Baldwin, Cornish, and part of Parsonsfield. And I just have to say that having spent some time in the last week in a couple of other committees, there's no place like home. There's no place like home. Glad to transportation.
Well, we appreciate that. Thank you, Representative Zebra. By the way, you might want to check your audio. It kind of has a delay to it. So we want to make sure we hear everything we do. Representative and House Chair Danny Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, folks. My name is Danny Martin. I represent House 150, located in northern Worcester County.
Thank you, sir. And big thank you to Representative and House Chair Danny Martin for doing such a great job last week. He really appreciate all of his good work. My name is Bill Diamond. I live in Wyndham, and my towns are Wyndham, Raymond, Casco, Standish, Baldwin, and Fry Island, District 26. Our analysts today are Sam Prower and Karen Netto, and our clerk is Darlene Semino. One little housekeeping before we begin, and that is I'm presenting a rather substantial bill to HHS committee this afternoon, but I'm hoping it's going to be supposed to be mid to late afternoon. So I'm hoping that I can be here and do my job for as long as possible, and hopefully through the end of these bills. But if I have to go, I'll certainly, Chair Martin's going to take over, and obviously nothing to worry about there. So we will start with, Mr. Chair, anything you would like to say before we begin?
No, thank you, Senator. You might want to share with the committee members the order that we'll be taking up the working on the bills this afternoon.
Yes, the order is as follows. LD 899, 836, 662, 796, 689, 645, 644, and 821. So we'll start right in with LD 899, and that is an act to provide privacy and security at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. And as you recall, the Secretary of State's office appeared at the public hearing and asked if we could carry that bill over because there's so much work to do in this area, and they would like to have the time to do that. So that is their request, and opening up the questions, comments from the committee.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if there are no questions or comments, I would now move that we carry over 899, LD 899.
Motion's been made to carry over LD 899. Comment, and is there a second? Second, Representative White, thank you. Are there comments, questions following that motion? Seeing none. We will now take a vote. Darlene?
Senator Diamond,
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin,
Yes.
Senator Farren,
Yes.
Representative Perkins,
Yes.
Representative Perry,
Yes.
Representative Williams,
Yes.
Representative Dustin White is absent, Senator Chipman absent, Representative Mark Bryant,
Yes.
Representative Bruce White,
Yes.
Representative Tom Martin absent, Representative Kevin O'Connell,
Yes.
and Representative Rich Seabra.
No.
Okay. 9 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, 3 absent.
Motion 9 in the positive, 1 in the negative, 3 absent. The motion prevails. Thank you. We'll now go to open up the work session on LD 836, an act to enhance compliance with motor vehicle insurance requirements. And the note we probably all remember is that the sponsor asked for an ought not to pass. Questions, comments from the committee? Seeing none. Representative Perry.
I make a motion ought not to pass.
Motion is made, ought not to pass. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is seconded, made and seconded. Questions, comments from the committee? Seeing none. Darlene, would you take a vote?
Senator Diamond,
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin,
Yes.
Senator Farren,
Yes.
Representative Perkins,
Yes.
Representative Perry,
Yes.
Representative Williams,
Yes.
Representative Dustin White is absent, Senator Chipman absent, Representative Bryant,
Yes.
Representative Bruce White,
Yes.
Representative Tom Martin is absent, Representative O'Connell,
Yes.
and Representative Seabra.
Yes. Can you hear me now a little better? I tried to change the audio.
It's better.
10 in the affirmative, 3 absent.
The motion ought not to pass is 10 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The motion prevails, ought not to pass. We'll now open a public hearing on LD 662, an act to provide chiefs of police the discretion to allow the use of light bars on emergency vehicles, presented by Representative Wadsworth. Sam, or Darlene, excuse me. Alice. Karen.
Karen.
Too much staff.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Good afternoon. Okay, so this, the original bill would have allowed ambulances, emergency medical service vehicles, fire department vehicles, and hazardous material response vehicles to use blue lights other than the one blue light that's already currently authorized in law, upon approval of the chief of local law enforcement agency of the jurisdiction of the vehicle. So I'm not going to go over the testimony, but we did hear that the sponsor, Representative Wadsworth, had submitted this bill on behalf of the Saco Valley Fire Association. And what happens is they're right on the border of Maine, New Hampshire. So they have, they service 2 towns in Maine, Stowe and Freiburg, Maine, but they also service Chatham, New Hampshire. So I think they just wanted some more flexibility in the lights that they could use on their vehicles. So Representative Wadsworth did ask me to draft an amendment for him. And I do think he circulated it with Maine State Police and perhaps a Maine Municipal Association. But what his proposed amendment does is it strikes and replaces the bill, and it allows, and it tailors it just to fire folks that work for a municipal or volunteer fire department. So it would allow municipal officers or a municipal official designated by municipal officers with approval of the fire chief to authorize an active member of a municipal or volunteer fire department to use one red light bar on the roof of the vehicle so that the light is visible to approaching traffic from the front and the rear of the vehicle. So I don't know if Representative Wadsworth is in the attendees, but anyway, he did ask that I share this with the committee for your consideration.
Thank you, Karen, for that. Representative Perkins. You're on mute, Representative Perkins. Nope, can't hear you.
I got it there. How's that better?
Yes, better.
Thank you, sir. I just talked to Representative Wadsworth and I was talking to him about, he said he'd be okay if we took the audio off and we put no more than an 8-inch light bar or strobe light on top. Other than a whole light bar, just an 8-inch strobe light or strobe light on top.
Thank you, Representative Perkins. Representative Wadsworth, thank you for being with us. And so would you just go over your amendment briefly? Obviously, Representative Perkins has given us a good start on this. So just want to make sure that.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Martin, Chair Diamond, members of the committee. I really would love to have the light bar kind of match what New Hampshire has on emergency vehicles in Maine. And Maine Municipal was fine with that, but Lieutenant Bruce Scott just thinks that doesn't really work for them. And so he suggests one red light, I guess, about 8 inches of size, I guess, but it can be on top of the vehicle. Doesn't quite mesh with what New Hampshire has, but something's better than nothing. So I think that's where it sounds like we are kind of working through it this morning and yesterday.
Thank you, Representative Wadsworth. Basically, I mean, this is kind of a beginning of what might happen later in other sessions possibly, but you got this much and you're okay with that?
That's it's where we are right now. And I think there's going to be, I think Saco Valley would like many bites at this apple. So over the course of time. So we'll see where that takes us. But As Representative Perkins today, told me on the phone, something's better than nothing. So I agree with that. And I hope the committee sees that.
Thank you. Questions from the committee? Representative Chair Danny Martin. You're on mute, Mr.
I apologize.
There you
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since the good sponsor of the bill is present, I just wanted to share with you that I have some concerns with the bill that is currently written. But listening to Representative Mike Perkins and what you mentioned with state police, I could support in some form or fashion an amended version.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Other questions, comments from the committee? Yes, Representative Mark Bryant.
Yeah, thank you. Is Lieutenant Scott in the queue, or can he come up and say his piece? So someone can represent them.
Good question. Do we have Lieutenant Scott with us?
We do. Hold on. Coming
Okay.
your way.
Okay, very good. Got his name. We're on our way here. There he is. Lieutenant Scott.
Yes, good afternoon, sir. I was listening and then I didn't quite catch what the question was, though. Sorry.
Well, the question was only, were you here and would you like to weigh in on what Representative Wadsworth had just spoken to us about in terms of an amendment, how this would be amended?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We did have the conversation and the state police and DPS does feel comfortable allowing with the amendment. We were concerned with the initial bill, of course, because it addressed far more. And as we were able to shrink it down, get rid of the siren and reduce the size of the light from a full light bar down to something 6 to 8 inches in size is certainly something that would look like a personally owned vehicle with a courtesy type light rather than a full light bar that may be more distracting, start to create some concern. And also we would want the public to feel as though there was some mandatory right-of-ways that came along with that, the lighting system on the volunteer firefighters' vehicles. So we are happy that we were able to come to an agreement. And we think that this is a fine compromise that will allow them to be a little bit safer and not be overbearing and distracting and create more of a problem that it solves. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of Lieutenant Scott? Yes, Representative Bryant. You're on mute. Hey.
Try. There we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Lieutenant, so you're saying that basically the light gives us notice that they're there, but doesn't change their ability to speed. Is that correct?
Yes, Representative Bryant, that's correct. They would not have the authority to violate any traffic laws. These aren't defined as emergency vehicles, and that's our primary concern when you're talking about a personally owned vehicle. They're not emergency vehicles. They don't have the authority to violate any traffic laws, including speeding or going through red lights and whatnot. And emergency vehicles, of course, do have that authority, and we don't want the public to be confused as to what this is approaching them. And when you start adding sirens and full light bars, I think that it could become very confusing for the public. This should keep it simple enough that it'll draw some attention and it would create the courtesy that the law requires and also provide that visibility when they're at a scene so that hopefully it gives them the visibility they were looking for prior to other emergency workers showing up with additional lighting that would serve a better purpose.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Other questions from the committee? We'd be ready for a motion if somebody would like to make that. Representative Wayne Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make a motion ought to pass as amended.
And the amendment would be no audio, no more than an 8-inch bar and red light only. Am I have that correct?
Correct.
That's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Representative Perkins. Discussion about the motion. Seeing none, Darlene, we're ready to go.
Okay, Senator Diamond.
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin.
Yes.
Senator Farren.
Yes.
Representative Perkins.
Yes.
Representative Perry.
Yes.
Representative Williams.
You're muted.
Yes.
Williams, yes.
Dustin White should be hopping on any minute, so I'll come back to him. Senator Chipman is absent. Representative Bryant.
Yes.
Representative Bruce White.
Yes.
Representative Tom Martin. Absent. Representative O'Connell
Yes.
and Representative Seabra.
Yes.
And I still don't see Representative Dustin White, so we'll catch him in a bit.
And the numbers?
10-3. 10 in the positive and 3 absent.
Motion ought to pass as amended prevails at 10-0. Thank you very much. We'll now go to LD 796. 796 is an act to restrict the sales of catalytic converters removed from motor vehicles, presented by Senator Timberlake of Androscoggin. Sam, or yes, that would be Sam.
All right, thanks, Senator Diamond. All right, well, this bill essentially does more or less what the title says it does. It restricts any person other than a holder of an inspection mechanic certificate from selling a catalytic converter that has been removed from a motor vehicle. And I just wanted to clarify before I move on, this, the restriction in this bill is, it only allows the person, the mechanic who has the certificate, not someone who works at a licensed inspection station to sell a catalytic converter. So I sent you my bill analysis today, and you'll see there's quite a bit of testimony in this bill, and I tried to highlight in the testimony section that there were also a number of different proposals put forward by the people who had testified, as well as something that was sent, a document that was sent to the committee after the public hearing from Maine Automotive Recyclers Association, representing what they view as model legislation for this issue. And before I just move forward, I also would note that on the second page of my bill analysis, I just provided the committee with a little bit of information on the reporting and record keeping requirements for scrap metal processors. And as you'll see in Title 30A, so this is not the motor vehicle statutes, a scrap metal processor is defined as a person who purchases metal for the resale or recycling. And under the definition of scrap metal in that statute, I think a catalytic converter would qualify. And so if they, and I just know the discussion of this bill had a lot to do with tracking people who are selling these things and you know, what kind of violations they could be subject to. And in current law, there are some provisions about if proper records aren't kept, what kind of violations there are. And I can walk the committee through that if you're interested, but I have a sense there may have been other discussions, so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here.
Thank you, Sam. Senator Farren, yes.
Thank you, Sam, for that. And thank you, Senator Diamond. Kind of a question to the committee. I think the sponsor brought forward a very legitimate concern and something that strikes, I think, in all of our neighborhoods on a regular basis. However, I also think with that new legislation, model legislation is put out there, and the many different groups that had some impact or some thoughts on this, that I think, you know, we ought to have a little more time. So whether it's a working group or tabling it or whatever, I just kind of wonder what other people's thoughts are. Am I overthinking the whole thing?
Let me just toss something in there. One of the options for the committee to consider, since the sponsor has asked for some kind of a study, if the committee wants to, the committee could table this and then give the committee members time to get back to Sam as to your thoughts and ideas regarding who would be the makeup of a study group, and then we could proceed forward with that. I think you're right, Senator Farren. There was a lot of different interests on this. I know I was contacted 2 or 3 times by different people who had, I thought, good ideas, but it's certainly something that would have to be examined and vetted in a proper way. And so that's one thought, would be to table it, give the committee members time to get back to us, to Sam, and say, here's who I think should be on this committee. Then we bring those thoughts back to the full committee make a final decision. That's an option. Anyway, anybody else have some ideas or some thoughts on how you'd like to proceed? Representative Perry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, that sounds like a good idea, and the advantage of tabling, if they bring something back to us soon, if the people talk over the next couple months, we don't have to make the final decision until, we're done for the season. So, I mean, if we just table it and we can either, as you suggested, put the study group together, or if all the parties get together, but in the next couple months, it also gives that option.
Okay. Other thoughts? Thank you for that, Representative Perry. Other thoughts? Senator Farren?
Before I make my motion, I'm going to suggest that everybody reach out to Sam with thoughts of who would be involved with the study group. And with that, I'm going to make a motion to table.
Actually, you just debated it and you can.
Oh, I can't. There you go. I'm gone.
That was a very good comment to lead into. So all but that, and we'll go to Representative Perry.
I second that motion.
You make the motion.
Oh, okay. Well, he did debate after he tabled.
He debated before he
He did
tabled.
actually do it, but I'll make the motion to table.
All right, the motion is made to table. Is there a second? Representative
Second.
Bryant? Second, thank you. Motion is not debatable. All those in favor of a table, would you take the vote, Darlene?
Yeah. Senator Diamond,
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin,
Yes.
Senator Farren,
Yes.
Representative Perkins,
Yes.
Representative Perry,
Yes.
Representative Williams,
Yes.
Representative Dustin White,
Yes.
Senator Chipman is absent. Representative Bryant,
Yes.
Representative Bruce White,
Yes.
Representative Tom Martin. What's that? Representative O'Connell
Yes.
and Representative Seabra.
Yes.
11 in favor and 2 absent.
Thank you. The motion to table, 11, the affirmative does prevail. And so this bill is tabled and we'll get back to the full committee. And please, as it was suggested, in terms of the makeup, contact Sam. Sam, any special requests that you have or instructions regarding them getting back to you?
Nothing I can think of. What I'll do is I'll just compile what's provided to me between now and whenever the next work session is, and I'll present it to the committee at the next work session. So just send me an email, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, for sure. Please, people, get back as soon as you possibly can, just so it doesn't get dragged out too far. Representative Danny Martin? You're on mute, Representative Martin.
It's 2 in a row. Thank you, Mr. Chair. In regards to the study group, could we kind of use the verbiage working group? And I'm just wondering, Sam, if you might want to confer with the presiding officers or staff to make sure that we have the authority to move forward on this thing.
Thanks, Representative Martin. So I guess my understanding of what's happening here is is not that there is a working group right now, but just that I'm compiling suggestions for the next work session on this bill. If the committee does want to have a working group, Representative Martin, you're correct. We would have to request permission for a subcommittee. But that wasn't, I guess, was I incorrectly understanding what we're doing, or?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think if we just come back, we'll use the terminology working group just to get us to a point where we're not committed to anything, and then just come back with a full committee. That next work session, the full committee can decide how we should proceed.
Okay.
That work? Everybody okay with that? Okay. Next. Next bill is LD 689, an act to allow trucks to use the leftmost lane of a 3-lane interstate highway to safely accommodate entering and exiting vehicles, presented by Representative Kinney of Knox. And we did have a request. Well, first off, Sam, would you give us a little update on this bill?
Thanks, Senator Diamond. Okay, so again, as the title suggests, this bill allows trucks with a registered gross vehicle weight over 10,000 pounds, including truck tractors, to operate in the leftmost lane only as necessary to safely accommodate vehicles entering or exiting Interstate 95 from Maine to New Hampshire border to the southern terminus of the Maine Turnpike and entering or exiting the Maine Turnpike south of mile 44 marker, where there are at least 3 lanes in each direction. I provided in my bill analysis a little summary of the current law about, we discussed this earlier this session about how normal operation for all vehicles is restricted to the right-hand lane, and also provided some information about the current prohibition on trucks using the leftmost lane on the turnpike, the 3-lane portions of the turnpike, and how that prohibition is actually set up in Turnpike Authority rule that the turnpike adopted pursuant to specific authority and statute. I provided the committee with just the different Title 29A definitions of pickup truck, truck, and truck tractor. And the only thing I really wanted to highlight before you continue is something that the state police noted in their testimony, which is that this bill states, that these trucks may operate in the leftmost lane only as necessary to safely accommodate entering or exiting vehicles. And the state police, I noted that this is a subjective judgment that would likely complicate enforceability. And I, in my bill analysis, suggested ways this, if the committee wanted to go with a law like this, you could create an objective standard. I'm not making any suggestions. I'm just kind of addressing this kind of enforceability technical issue with the bill. So I'm gonna leave it there unless the committee has questions about or interest in doing something like that.
Thank you, Sam. Questions of Sam before we go to the sponsor who asked to speak? Seeing none. Representative Kenny, welcome. Glad you could be with us. I think you had indicated you wanted to clarify something.
Sure. Thank you, Senator Diamond. Thank you for letting me have a chance to speak on this a little bit. As I had stated in my testimony, I did submit this for a friend of mine, constituent, and I'm just trying to at least have an opportunity to possibly speak to the bill on the floor. I don't know if we can come up with any kind of accommodation, some kind of something that could possibly help the truckers that are driving along that lower part of the interstate. One thing that I remember hearing, and I apologize that I'm with my mom at an eye doctor's appointment, so I don't have everything in front of me, but I recall the state police in their testimony also mentioning that they were allowing trucks to pass and not enforcing the prohibition from the left lane as long as they got right back over. But in my testimony, I also cited the fact that in the statute, it says that the signs that say trucks are prohibited from the leftmost lane must be obeyed. So I'm concerned that some officers may be allowing the trucks to pass while others are not, or just wanting to have some clarity for these drivers. They are professionals. They're working when they're on the road, whereas a lot of times we do have traffic that's just here on vacation, and we are a tourism state, and that time of year is coming up. I don't know if there's any kind of options that we may have. I realize changing the signs requires a fiscal note. If there was something along the lines of having it say all vehicles, because technically the law states all vehicles are prohibited from the leftmost lane except to pass, yet a lot of people do travel in that leftmost lane. Sorry, these things don't stay in my ears. So I guess I'm just trying to look for something that, if there was anything at all that could possibly be compromised on with all parties, just trying to help out the people that are working on our highways.
Thank you, Representative Kenny. We appreciate those further questions and comments. Before we go to questions, I'll just ask Lieutenant Scott if he could address the question that Representative Kenny did raise about the some officers may be allowing it, some not. Lieutenant Scott, could you speak to that a little bit? Lieutenant?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I'm just trying to figure out if I'm muted or not. I disappeared.
You're good.
You're good. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, Mr. Chair, we do not have a practice of allowing people to operate in the left lane in a commercial vehicle when they're in that 3-lane environment on the main turnpike. And since I don't work down there, I reached out to Lieutenant Baker, who's the commander, to see if perhaps that was true. And he said that was not true. And he was sitting with Greg Stone, who works for the Main Turnpike Authority. And then he asked Greg Stone that same question, and the information came back from him that no, absolutely not. So I'm not sure where that came from, but I don't believe it was part of the state police testimony, maybe something that was misunderstood, but certainly not practice to allow the tractor trailers to operate in that left lane at any time.
Thank you. Questions from the committee of either Representative Kenny or Lieutenant Scott? Seeing none. Thank you very much. My concern are the safety concerns, which I thought Lieutenant Hayden laid out very clearly. As much as I'd like to help the truckers, because I think they're certainly do a tremendous job and we're most reliable and safe drivers we have, but the safety issues seem to be predominant with me. Not only the guardrails, on the right further side, but also on the left. And when the trucks get over there, how do they get back? And if there's a breakdown, those kind of concerns. I think the environmental concerns, I think, were raised. There seem to be a number of issues, safety mostly, that would come to the forefront if we started to allow these sort of things to happen. Those are my biggest concerns, which is why I won't be able to support or not to pass, but I'm interested in hearing, and besides, I think the Main Turnpike Authority had done a pretty thorough study referenced by the director as to some of the problems with that, but that's where I am, but I'd like to hear what other people are as well. Representative Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can I ask Lieutenant Scott a question?
Of course. Lieutenant Scott?
Yes, Representative Perry.
Yeah, Lieutenant Scott, I was just thinking about currently, the exits are pretty far apart on the current 3-lane highway. Once we open up from Scarborough to north of the Portland Westbrook exit, the exit 48, we're going to have exits that are really, really close together. Is there going to be an issue coming forward with trucks traveling in the far right lane other than to pass, with all the exits almost right on top of each other, going from, say Scarborough to exit 48?
Yeah, thank you, Representative Perry. I don't want to speak for the Main Turnpike and what their plans are as they do their widening project. I'm not sure what the rules are going to be. My initial thought is that trucks are allowed to move over into the left lane of a 2-lane highway right now for the traffic that's coming on. So I don't perceive it as a problem. They're able to move over to pass those vehicles that are coming on the ramps and then move back safely. I'm not sure if when they add that 3rd lane, if they're going to still have that prohibition or not.
Okay. I was just curious because I was just thinking safety wise, if there's going to be an issue with having the exits so close together on trailers, really having to constantly go back and forth. It's not as much of an issue, south of Scarborough, but between Scarborough and Portland, I'm just wondering if that's going to be a safety issue with so many exits right on top of each other.
Yeah, thank you, Representative Perry. And I certainly can understand the concern. I would say it's similar to what we have for the rest of the interstate system, where they're 2-lane roads once you get north of mile 44. We're pretty familiar with that. We've had good luck over the years with the traffic the way it is. So perhaps we'll have to evaluate that as we move forward, but I think we're okay for now. Thank you.
Thank you. And since that was, let me just follow through with the Director Mills, since that question was raised about the turnpike. Director Mills, you had mentioned, you referenced the study by Tim Cody on the engineering study highlighting on the safety issue. Did you want to respond to that or anything else that has been raised, including Representative Perry's comment?
Yeah, I'd like to build on Representative Perry's comment. We have 8 interchanges between Scarborough at mile 42 and Falmouth at mile 53. They are a little over a mile apart, basically, and they do come on to in fairly rapid succession. And we have had some internal discussion about whether the rule that we have in place and have signage for south of mile 44, whether that rule will be applied when we get when we open up to 6 lanes for that whole stretch between mile 44 and mile 53. In any case, the current arrangement is that the turnpike has decided this by rule. And so in other words, we don't need a law change to permit us, at least as the law is presently structured, we can abrogate the rule for the space north of mile 42 if we wish. My board can meet and look at the safety studies and decide if it's appropriate to do that in light of the fact that there are so many interchanges in that one section. So the representative is correct that there's a difference in character between the highway south of mile 42 or 44 and what we see around Portland. So I can't respond to how we will come down on this but it will require a fresh look at the issue for that stretch of highway.
Thank you, Director Mills. Representative Perkins has a question, comment.
Thank you, Senator Diamond, Chairman. Being said and all, looking at this, as I was talking to someone earlier and they brought it up to me that a majority of your trucking companies out here, your big ones, all have their trucks governed between 65 and 72 miles an hour. And so there's no need for them to be out in the left-hand lane. Being said that, I'd like to make a motion ought not to pass.
Motion is made, ought not to pass. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Motion to ought not to pass, seconded. Yes, now discussion. Motion before the committee is ought not to pass. Comments, questions? Representative Perry?
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I was kind of glad to hear what Director Mills had to say because, I think it will be a safety issue that we're going to have to look at moving forward. And, just a coordination between the main turnpike and state police on that because they are so close together. I think, something will definitely have to be looked at there. I don't know if it's a good idea to have different policies for different little sections or not, but that'll have to be something that, we discuss in the future and Director Mills does with his board on what their thoughts are on the safety, but thank you.
Thank you. Further comments or questions on the motion is ought not to pass. Seeing none. Darlene?
Senator Diamond,
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin,
Yes.
Senator Farren,
Yes.
Representative Perkins,
Yes.
Representative Perry,
Yes.
Representative Williams,
Yes.
Representative Dustin White,
Yes.
Senator Chipman is absent, Representative Bryant,
Yes.
Representative Bruce White,
Yes.
Representative Tom Martin. Yeah, he's still not answering. Representative O'Connell
Yes.
and Representative Seabrook.
Yes.
11 in the affirmative, 2 absent.
Motion ought not to pass prevails 11 to 0 to 2 absent. Close the work session on 689. The next bill will be for us in a work session is LD 645. Resolve to create an electronic titling work group presented by Representative White of Waterville. Sam, or is it Karen?
Karen.
Karen. You're on, Karen.
Hard to keep track. So this would direct the Secretary of State, Bureau of Motor Vehicles, to convene this working group to look at electronic titling and make annual reports to this committee through the 132nd legislature, at which time the work group would dissolve. There was only testimony in favor of the bill. However, the Secretary of State, Secretary Bellows, testified she did have a suggested amendment if the committee moves forward with this, to delete paragraph H in lines 14 and 15 of the bill. Because the new Deputy Secretary of State, Kathy Curtis, would bring national titling expertise to the work group. She recently led a working group of representatives of 10 state motor vehicle agencies that drafted a framework for a national e-titling solution. And toward that end, relating to membership, Maine Motor Transport Authority did offer they would be happy to participate in the work group if the committee sees fit. So Senator Diamond had asked Secretary Bellows if the timeline in the resolve is adequate. So I do see Kathy Curtis. I haven't seen her in a long time. Hello, nice to see your face. And then I know Representative Perry also asked Secretary Bellows at the public hearing to consider adding to the work group duties, examining security measures to the list of duties. And then I think that it was also suggested at the public hearing that a legislator serve on the work group. I will say we have gotten the preliminary fiscal impact statement, and there is no fiscal note required. However, if there is a legislator on the work group, there will be a fiscal note. But I can talk more about that if that's something you want to explore. So that's all I have for now.
Well, thank you. Let's go to Kathy Curtis, speak about, I think, the timeline and other thoughts you may share with the committee. Welcome. Good afternoon. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's very nice to be back in front of this committee for the first time in 10 years. Yes, I have just recently left the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators. We had a working group of, as Karen said, 10 jurisdictions or states that were also contemplating electronic titling. It's a very large project. It's going to take the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators about 2 years to put all of the standards in place to exchange data between entities, such as exchanging title data between dealers and a state agency, and then between states. So I really think that there is some interim steps that the working group may want to take over the next couple of years, but this is really a longer term project. In the end, the goal is to be able to have a fully electronic program for titles where titles don't necessarily or are not printed. An electronic record is maintained at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, and that record can be exchanged between entities. And they can also electronically sell that vehicle and sign bills of or transactions, transfers of ownership electronically. A lot of standards have to be put in place to be able to identify and confirm identities. So again, that's going to take some time. So I think the timeline here is correct, but I think that the working group hopefully will be able to come back to you with some smaller interim steps that can be taken, especially along the lines of electronic and liens, a more progressive program than we have today. And we're very happy to include all of the folks that testified in support of this bill on that working group. Quite frankly, we couldn't do it without them. So we're very, very happy to hear that there's a lot of interest and that people are willing to work with us on this topic.
So Kathy, in terms of clarification here, in terms of the timeline, you're okay with that? And would you suggest any other amendments other than deletion of section 1H?
There was one amendment that Karen mentioned.
Security?
Security, yes, adding that amendment.
Okay. And that would be the extent of the amendment in your eyes?
Removing line H or 1H. If there's something that I'm not thinking of that you may be aware of, not sure if there's something that else you have in mind.
Well, I don't. I was just making sure that we covered everything that you wanted to include. Thank you for that. Other questions of Ms. Curtis, Representative Danny Martin?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Kathy, Karen Nadeau mentioned some thought of having a legislator serve on that, which I would not oppose. However, I just want to remind the committee that if we add a legislator, there will be a fiscal note. It might be minor, which means it'll go before Appropriations Committee. So I just wanted to hear thoughts on other committee members as to whether or not we ought to have a legislator on there.
Other thoughts? Wouldn't that be on the transportation table, highway table? Sam? If we had a fiscal note, would that not be placed on the highway table?
I guess Karen might have something to say about this. I'm not entirely sure if it would be from the general fund as a legislative study at that point, or if it would be highway table. I think for studies in the past, you've had to require that the funding come from the highway budget to get it onto the highway table.
Karen, could you help us with that?
Yeah, I support what Sam said. So it's my understanding that even though, if you have up to 2 legislators, it's not a legislative study. However, it would still go to the study table because the payment of per diem and expenses of the legislators would come from the council's budget. So right now there is no fiscal note, so it would, there's no fiscal note attached, but if you put any legislator on it, it will go to the study table.
Okay. Questions from the committee, Representative Perry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I don't believe there needs to be a legislator on it. They can bring everything before us and we'll handle it, once the whole thing comes together. And so I don't think we need to have a legislator on it.
Thank you. Agree with that. Other questions, comments? So the proposed amendment would be deleting section from the bill, deleting section 1H and adding security measures. Not sure what the terminology would be, but Karen can help us with that. Was there any other? Yes, Karen, to add to the amendment.
Well, I didn't know if you wanted to consider Maine Motor Transport Association's offer to serve on the work group. Maybe they could be a replacement for paragraph H. So some sort of, it could be phrased, some statewide organization, representative motor carrier, something to that effect. Since we heard in their testimony, they do submit thousands of applications to the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. So, but I'm not advocating, I'm just.
Oh, I understand.
That was what I heard at the public hearing.
Yeah, we added we could, if the committee wanted to, add a statewide organization that would cover that organization. Other comments, suggestions, questions? So we're ready for a motion.
Senator Diamond?
Yes. Did I miss
Yeah.
somebody? Representative Perry. Sorry.
Yes. Just real quick, I just want to follow up. I think the security parts that we're putting in there is very important because we don't want to wake up someday and somebody else own our vehicle that we thought we just bought.
Yep, no, absolutely. And what we'll do is we'll get the wording. Karen will bring the wording back to the committee. We can take a look at it, make sure everybody's okay with it before it leaves us. Other questions, comments, Representative Danny Martin?
Well, Mr. Chair, what Ms. Nato just suggested, or not suggested, but mentioned, do we add another member to the council, to the working group, rather?
Well, we would include the verbiage if the committee so decided that would say something regarding a statewide organization that pertains to what the main motor carriers might be doing, or might do, and that would allow, so there would be wording added, but that would be part of the amendment anyway. So yes, the answer is yes.
With that in mind, Mr. Chair, I would move ought to pass as amendment on LD 645.
Second.
Motion is made, ought to pass as amended. Representative White, is that a second?
Yeah.
Yes, good. All right, so that amendment then, to make sure I get the amendment correct, Representative Martin, that is we'd be deleting section 1H. We would add in the terminology regarding security measures and also reference to a statewide organization. And all of that verbiage would be brought back to the committee, explained, and make sure everybody's comfortable with it before it leaves the committee. Does that fit the amendment as you saw it, Representative Martin?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Comments, questions? Seeing none. Darlene, it's up to you.
Senator Diamond,
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin,
Yes.
Senator Farren,
Yes.
Representative Perkins,
Yes.
Representative Perry,
Yes.
Representative Williams,
Yes.
Representative Dustin White. Lost him. Senator Chipman is absent. Representative Bryant,
Yes.
Representative Bruce White,
Yes.
Representative Tom Martin, who literally just popped on. I'll come back to him. Representative O'Connell,
Yes.
Representative Seabra,
No.
okay, and Representative Tom Martin.
Yes.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, and 2 absent.
And what is your report, Representative Seabra? ONTP?
Ought not to pass.
Not to pass.
What did you say? I didn't hear you, Representative Seabra.
ONTP ought not to pass.
Numbers, Darlene, is it?
Yeah, it's 2 absent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, and 2 absent.
Motion ought to pass as amended prevails, 10, 1, and 2 absent. The next bill for work session is LD 644, an act regarding motor vehicle registration violations, presented by Representative Cloutier of Lewiston. I think that would be Karen as well, yes?
Yes.
My last one. So the original bill proposed to remove the designation as a Class C crime of certain registration violations. In Section 1 of the bill, it's operating with an expired motor vehicle registration. Section 2, failure to change your out-of-state registration. And Section 5, operating with an expired 14-day registration plate, otherwise known as a paper plates. And then it also required a warning to be issued for all traffic stops for expired registrations. Section 3 requires registrations to be obtained or changed within 10 business days of a warning having been issued. Current law is 2 days, and this would change that to 10. Sections 1, 2, and 4 establish a $500 fine for second and subsequent offenses. And then Section 6 requires the Secretary of State to establish a notification system to inform people that the registrations are going to expire within 30 days. So at the public hearing, I don't know if it was Senator Diamond or both chairs of the committee, kind of asked Representative Cloutier, the sponsor of the amendment, to work with the Bureau of Motor Vehicles and Maine State Police on some sort of compromise language. And so she did that. And I can speak to that if you like.
Yes, okay.
So, and I did send you a link to the electronic file for LD 644. So the amendment has been posted. So what it does, it strikes from the bill the requirement that a warning be issued for all traffic stops for expired registrations. And then it also strikes for Section 6 of the bill, which is the notification requirement. And I worked with Steve Ashcroft from BMV, and he said, I think the idea is maybe to have the Transportation Committee send a letter to BMV to asking them to prioritize their efforts on registration reminders. And then the amendment also provides the following penalties for a violation of failure to register. So basically keeping intact a fine of not more than $50 for a first offense. And of course, we're talking about more than 30 days, but less than 150 days, because the current law provides that only a warning will be issued if the registration has expired within the last 30 days. So $50 for more than 30, less than 150 for a first offense. A $100 fine would be for an offense if the registration expired for 150 days or more. And then it keeps the $500, the fine of not more than $500 for a second or subsequent offense of that section. And then it keeps Class E crime if the vehicle has never been registered by the current owner of the vehicle. And then in that Section 1 of the amendment, it does provide for dismissal of the violation if the person either shows satisfactory evidence of registration that was in effect at the time of the alleged violation, or the person subsequently registers the vehicle prior to the date required for filing an answer to the complaint. And then in Section 2 of the bill, it's kind of similar. This is for folks who move to Maine that need to register their vehicles in the state. It would be a $50 fine if more than 30, but less than 150 days have elapsed. It would be up to a $500 fine if it's a second or subsequent offense. And then it retains current law, which is it's a Class E crime if more than 150 days have elapsed since establishing residency. And then it doesn't make any changes to Section 3 of the bill, which is giving people 10 business days to register their vehicle rather than 2. And it strikes Sections 4 and 5 of the bill, which would have amended the law relating to the 14-day temporary registration plates. And it also strikes, I already mentioned the notification piece in Section 6. So I don't know if Kathy Curtis is, oh, I do see Steve Ashcroft and Lieutenant Scott worked with the sponsor on this amendment. So if you have any questions, they're here to answer those.
Questions from the committee for Karen? If not, we'll go right to Steve Ashcroft. Welcome, Mr. Ashcroft. Thank you for being with us.
Good afternoon, Senator Diamond.
You want to make any comments, clarifications, or additions?
Sure. I think we reached a compromise that everybody in the end was comfortable with, and everybody got a little piece of something here. So I don't want to go on too much, and I'll take questions, but most of what we have in there, from the Bureau of Motor Vehicles standpoint is, we want the person to register the vehicle. So, we didn't want to opine on penalties, but, we wanted something in there, which is what inserted the piece about, if you do get a violation summons and complaint, if you register your vehicle, that'll be dismissed, which is what we're all trying to accomplish here for us. So with that, I can take any questions regarding any of those amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Ashcroft. We appreciate that you being here. Representative Williams has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Ashcroft and everyone else might understand this, but this has always been tricky for me to understand. What is residency under this? Because I come from a town that has a lot of seasonal workers. And so the question becomes, is their car a seasonal presence also?
Well, I'm going to try not to overstep my bounds here. And as they say these days, a little bit, I think that's a question for MRS, but, from a very lay point of view, we would look at it as, where are you paying your income taxes? Where are you spending the majority of your, your residence, if you will? Somebody comes here seasonally to work, I wouldn't say that they are a resident here. And I can let Lieutenant Scott speak to, how enforcement interprets that. But back in the day, that's kind of how we looked at it. If now you're living here and you're working here and you don't intend to leave here, then that's residency. So that's kind of a little gray area with that.
Other questions of Mr. Ashcroft? If not, we'll go right to Lieutenant Scott. Lieutenant, could you join us?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Yes. Would you weigh in on this and the part you've played, and are you okay with this now, you being the state police and public safety and all of that?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we came into this originally neither for nor against with some concerns. We were able to work together to address those concerns and to come up with what we felt was a fair compromise or a fair concession. So what's been said so far is accurate. Did you want me to answer Representative Williams regarding the?
Yes, please. Yes.
So what we look at is the statute says after establishing residency. And so part of our investigation would be, did they establish or not? And we ask some simple questions. If they provide a Maine driver's license, but then an out-of-state registration, we're going to ask them, how long have you been in Maine? Have you established residency here? They're only allowed by law to have one driver's license for one state. So typically your home state of jurisdiction would be where you would be licensed. So if they say, well, yeah, I live in Maine, I've been here for 3 months, but I haven't had the money yet to register my car, we're pretty comfortable that they've moved here. They've established residency by their own statement and by getting a Maine driver's license. But we'll also look at different things like, do they apply for a Maine resident hunting license and fishing license, where they couldn't get one in Maine and one in Florida. And after a thorough investigation and making that determination that they themselves have indeed established residency, that's when we would make the requirement that they registered their vehicle. So I think the license is a pretty big part of it, but also we may see somebody out and about for months with an out-of-state plate, stop them for a reason. They may have an out-of-state license and plate. They could tell us that they're not establishing residency here. They have no intentions of living, but they're here for the summer, and we would not enforce it that way. We kind of have to let them tell us if they're a resident or not, and then look at the facts to support that.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that. Representative Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know if this would be a question for Lieutenant Scott or Mr. Ashcroft, but was there also a fix to the people that go over 6 months and then get to re-register and save 6 months of fee?
I can take that, if you will.
Okay, Mr. Ashcroft, go ahead.
So we discussed that, and I want to make a correction about some of the testimony that's happened before. So in the last 4 months of a registration period is when excise tax and registration fees are half rated. So it's after that 8 months. So I'm not sure where the 150 days ever came from originally in the legislation. It really doesn't make a difference, but we did talk about this. And we did all agree that we didn't want an expired registration to get into that period if we could help it. So going back to what I said before is our goal is to get the vehicle registered, right? So we wanted to, kind of put a stop, if you will, somewhere before that 8 months occurred. That way we're not losing money in the highway fund and we're not losing money for the municipalities. So if that answers your question, Representative Perry, I'm not sure, but.
Yeah, thank you,
Sort of.
thank you. Yes, to a point, but I mean, shouldn't we just take that incentive out that if they get to 6 or 7 months, let me wait another month or so and I'm gonna be able to cut my cost in half?
Well, I was part of the negotiation. We did talk about it and felt like, keeping parts of the legislation that have been there for years and kind of leaving that language in there. That's why it's still a Class E crime if you go over that period of time. So
Thank you.
that's kind of the stop I was talking about.
I just tossed into the mix. There seem to be a lot of changes here. It looks like there are a lot of good changes probably, but if the committee feels like you need a chance to actually review these, review the wording and have a little time, we can always table to give you the chance to do that, of course. So don't feel like you have to be rushed into this if you think you'd like to review and weigh the various changes that were discussed and shared with us today. So keep that in consideration if you would. Senator Farren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just with all of these changes, I think it goes to your point a little bit, but I wonder if there's any fiscal note with the Secretary of State having to implement or monitor or track these things. And maybe that's something we could request and see where that status is. The other comment I have is that it seems like an awful lot of work went in on these amendments and making changes. And I've heard the word compromised used a number of times for, quite honestly, a system I don't think was broken. And I have a hard time supporting, anything going forward, but the fiscal note would be a question of mine.
Thank you. Representative Danny Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I need to mention that I wasn't aware that an amendment was being drafted. I went into this with, according to my notes here, with a not to pass, basically because of the requirement that the Secretary of State had to send out notifications, and clearly that would have been a cost. As our Senate Chair just mentioned, a lot has been mentioned here by Karen Nadeau, and I'm not sure. I'm ready to vote on something here without further consideration. But again, I just want to share with you, I have some concerns, and I need to take a look at the amendment before moving forward and moving forward on a positive note on this bill.
Thank you, Representative Martin. Representative Perkins.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Chairman, basically, I was going to say almost the exact same thing as Senator Farring did, and then echo also somewhat what Chairman Martin said. The bill is not broken. The law is not broken. All we're trying to ease and soften the landing. So I too am looking at, I will vote no on anyway, because I don't believe it is broken. And if it's not broken, don't try to fix it. And if we continue doing soft landings, there's a financial loss on the other end. And as we all know, we're in a lot of financial problems. So I would agree with Chairman Martin that we might have to take a little bit of time and think about it. And I don't agree with the bill at all still.
Thank you, Representative Perkins. Representative Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I motion to table.
Motion is made to table. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, thank you. Tabling motion is non-debatable. Darlene, would you take us to it?
Senator Diamond.
Yes.
Representative Martin.
Yes.
Senator Farren.
Yes.
Representative Perkins.
Yes.
Representative Perry.
Yes.
Representative Williams.
Yes.
Representative Dustin White.
Yes.
Senator Chipman is absent. Representative Mark Bryant.
Yes.
Representative Bruce White,
Yes.
Representative Tom Martin. You don't have your volume on.
Yes.
Representative O'Connell
Yes.
and Representative Seaver.
Nope.
Okay. 11 in the affirmative, 1 absent, and 1 negative.
The motion to table, 11 in the affirmative prevails. We'll close the work session on LD 644. We will now go to our last bill today, and that is LD 821. LD 821 is an act to improve investigation and prosecution of cases that involve vulnerable road users, presented by Senator Daughtry of Cumberland. This would be Sam, I believe.
Thanks, Senator Diamond. And just one thing before we get going here, I know you had requested at the beginning that I give the committee a little update on, the status of the committee work this session. So if you still are interested in that, you can let me know after we're done with this bill, and I can give you a little update.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, so this bill requires a law enforcement officer who investigates a reportable accident involving a vulnerable user or an allegation of a criminal violation that endangered a vulnerable user or the property of a vulnerable user to inform a district attorney of relevant jurisdiction about the investigation and any evidence relevant to the potential prosecution of an alleged criminal violation resulting from the investigation within 60 days of the accident. It seemed to me at the public hearing that there was a little bit of confusion about kind of how the bill worked and what some of the definitions were. So as you'll note on the bill analysis, I provided some information about how this interacts with current law right below the bill summary. And I just wanted to highlight 2 things for the committee in particular. The first is that a reportable accident means an accident on a public way or a place where public traffic may reasonably be anticipated, resulting in bodily injury or death to a person or apparent property damage of $1,000 or more. And then a vulnerable user is defined in statute, and it means a person on a public way who is more vulnerable to injury than a person in an automobile, truck, or other similar motor vehicle. And some of the examples of this in statute include, but are not limited to, a pedestrian, a person riding, guiding, or leading an animal, or being guided by a service animal, or a person who is lawfully operating, riding, using, holding, or otherwise in a bicycle, a motorized bicycle or tricycle, a farm tractor or similar vehicle, a skateboard, roller skates, scooter, moped, horse-drawn carriage, electric personal assistive mobility device, wheelchair, Segway, roller skis. It's pretty much anyone who you can expect to be on a public way who's not in a motor vehicle. And so in noting that, I also want to note kind of how this bill works, which is that as printed, the language states a law enforcement officer who investigates a reportable accident involving a vulnerable user or an allegation. So this means that the requirement to inform the district attorney is contingent upon an investigation by a law enforcement officer. So it's not just like any person who makes an allegation gets this sent to the district attorney, that the law enforcement officer actually has to do an investigation. And I'm sure the state police can speak to, how often things are investigated. Maybe everything's investigated or maybe only certain things are investigated. I'm not sure, but I know they're here. And then the only other thing I really wanted to note on this is there were some proposed amendments. There was a proposed amendment presented by the sponsor at the public hearing. However, the sponsor also, I think, I believe worked with the Bicycle Coalition of Maine, and I think maybe the state police to submit a proposal that everyone should have received today as well. And so I have that in my possession too. So if the committee is interested in that, I can help walk you through it. And I also believe there's someone from the Maine Prosecutors Association here to help speak to this bill. So I'm going to let you.
Yes, Mary Ann Lynch, we see you. Thank you. Questions of Sam at this point? I haven't seen the amendment yet. Does everybody else, nobody's seen it? I haven't as well. So I don't know what that necessarily has come up with, but that's neither here nor there at the moment, at least. So no questions from the committee regarding to Sam? Okay. Could we go to, we did ask the prosecutors to have a person here, and Mary Ann Lynch, thank you for joining us.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here. I'm usually in Judiciary or Health and Human Services. And I have to say, I don't want to make the other committees jealous. You guys are very efficient. You're so collegial with each other. It's been a pleasure to listen to this all day.
Well, it's so nice to have you with us. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you for allowing us the opportunity. As you know, we have, there have been a lot of bills and we're trying to cover a lot of bills. So I do want to apologize in advance if I don't have all the answers for you. I did have a chance to poll most of our members. So that includes myself, Jonathan Sarbuck in Cumberland County, Todd Collins, Aroostook, Megan Maloney down in Kennebec, myself, Matt Foster, we are not in support of this bill. I have not gotten a final word from Natasha Irving or Kathy Slattery. And there are a couple of reasons for this. First of all, in the law, we only have one category of cases that fall into this because it's so significant. And those are cases where there's been an allegation of a sexual assault against a child. So those cases are required to be reported to us. So one concern the Maine prosecutors have is that if we start establishing this on every single type of case, the fiscal note and the requirement of the district attorney's office is going to be, there's just going to be a lot of pressure, because as I read this, it doesn't say in a case where there's been serious bodily injury. I certainly, I cover the majority of the fatalities in Penobscot and Piscataquis County, some of which have involved a bike or pedestrians. But if you're asking us to look at every single case where that's happened, and again, it's not clear from the statute. Once it comes in here, it's unclear what you want us to do with it. The other thing that I think is very important to capture is the understanding of what law enforcement done versus the district attorney, certainly on very large cases. So I want to distinguish those on the fatalities I do. I physically responded 90% of the fatalities. I'm on scene that night, and I'm working with law enforcement in terms of preparing the case. However, in shoplifting cases, maybe some burglary of motor vehicle cases, any number of cases, that's for law enforcement to investigate and bring the case with us. None of our offices have an independent investigatorial arm to start an investigation. The other thing that's very important is that when we work with police, they don't work for us. So I'm a little bit concerned as to what the expectation is with this bill. If you think by getting these, we somehow are going to be directing investigations on these. And again, there are exceptions. If it looks like somebody's been seriously injured, of course, there's ongoing communication between our offices, law enforcement regarding search warrants, getting medical records, conducting other interviews. We certainly work with them, but this seems to be mandating a little bit more. And I also think that it's setting an expectation that's not, that's going to be very difficult to be met. The other issue that I think was interesting is that it doesn't describe a motor vehicle. So I don't know if it's anticipated in this case, if you have two bike riders that run into each other. Are those the sorts of cases that you might want to have in here, or a problem with ATV issues? Yeah, there was one more issue I wanted to bring up, but I can't. again, I think it's just important to look at the, at the criminal statute. In passing this, I think there does have to be a fiscal note attached with it. I can't imagine how many cases I would have to start reaching out just to my law enforcement. They investigate a great deal of cases. We don't see every case that gets called in to a law enforcement agency. That would just be overwhelming for us. So the fiscal note that would need to be attached with this would require some investigation in terms of how many additional, or, is it going to require that we have an additional DA to be reviewing all these motor vehicle cases that are coming in where there's an allegation that a pedestrian's been hit, somebody was in a crosswalk and they were on a bike. And again, whether or not it's that person's fault. But again, I think it's trying to shift the investigatory responsibility to the district attorney's office, which when we talk about sort of swimming in our own lanes is not a function that we normally perform. So I'm going to stop talking because I could talk, but I've picked up from all of you that you like things sort of, you're very smart and you ask excellent questions.
Well, Ms. Lynch, thank you very much. That was very, very helpful. And I think there may be questions from the committee. Representative Danny Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Lynch, for appearing before our committee. I quite frankly, after listening to you, I view this as very convoluted bill, a complex bill, and I'm not sure it's needed. And just wondering if you agree with what I just said.
I do agree with that. And again, I do want to reassure you in all our offices, if we have in particular, and it may be why they asked me to do that. I speak extensively on motor vehicle fatalities. I do a lot of work in that area, and it would be unusual in a major case like that for a district attorney and ADA not to be assigned to that earlier and to have that work, but on every single case. So again, I don't think it's necessary to. I think it sets a very difficult precedent. Again, the only time frame we have on a reporting of such cases now are sexual assaults involving children. Those are very important for a variety of reasons. But if we're going to get that, I think this is going to open up that every case has got some interest groups' attention. And if we have to review every single case that is reported to law enforcement, I think that could be very overwhelming.
Thank you. Representative Lynn Williams.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chair. As an attorney and a former criminal defense attorney, I completely agree with Ms. Lynch on this. I mean,
wow, could you say that again?
And don't repeat that to anyone.
I love this committee. I'm just going to start appearing here.
This is how we work. The criminal defense bar was here and the prosecutors were there and we all knew our roles. And it could be that if an accident occurs and the victim, the bicycle victim, say, feels unheard or something, often what happens is they hire an attorney. And I'm not looking for business, but that's the way this operates. And I even felt very strongly during the public hearing that there was a desire to subvert what has been our system for decades in this state. So that's my opinion on this.
Thank you, Representative Williams. Very, very helpful, I might add. Senator Farren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm going to echo, I think, what I heard all along, that this is just something we don't need and it convolutes the whole thing, and I'm going to make a motion of ought not to pass on LD 821.
Second.
Motion's been made.
Second.
Ought not to pass. Is there a second?
Yeah, there is.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Representative Perry. Oh, you're all set?
Senator Farren beat me to the punch.
Oh, okay. All right. Do we have a question? The motion's been made, ought not to pass. Are there questions from the committee or concerns, comments you all want to make? Seeing none, Darlene, it's up to you.
Senator Diamond,
Yes.
Representative Martin,
Yes.
Senator Farren,
Yes.
Representative Perkins,
Yes.
Representative Perry,
Yes.
Representative Williams,
Yes.
Representative Dustin White,
Yes.
Senator Chipman is absent. Representative Bryant,
Yes.
Representative Bruce White,
Yes.
Representative Tom Martin,
Yes.
Representative O'Connell,
Yes.
and Representative Zebra.
Yep.
12 in the affirmative, 1 absent.
Motion ought not to pass, 12 to 0 to 1 absent. The motion ought not to pass prevails. Thank you very
Will
much.
you
for
also
that.
record that a defense attorney agreed with me?
Yes, that's been recorded, and that's also will be online.
And it's on YouTube, so.
Don't get me in trouble.
The world is listening.
But we thank you, Ms. Lynch, for your kind comments and for being with us, and welcome back anytime. Thank you. Now, Sam, did you want to update the committee on where we are with our bill status?
Yeah, happy to. And just as a note, this will be a little rough just because I just counted things up and threw them together during the work session. But I can follow up with maybe a more, I don't know, clean version of this later. But currently, our committee has, I think, most of the bills that we can expect to this section. I believe there still are some coming, but we have most of what we're going to see. We have about 16 bills awaiting public hearing. We have, after today, we have about 17 that have had public hearings that are need to be worked, and most of those are scheduled for work session. We have a pretty heavy, list of work for the next couple weeks. I've counted, I think, 3 that the committee, or 4 that the committee has determined that it's interested in carrying over ultimately. And we also have about 9 that are scheduled for public hearing but haven't had the public hearing yet. And like I said, those are also coming up in the next couple weeks. So we're kind of in the thick of it. We've done a lot of work, and we've got a lot scheduled. I think after the next couple weeks, we're gonna have gotten through a significant portion of it.
Good. That was my thought, but I'm sure we'll get more specific numbers. Oftentimes, the reports we get from presiding officers are outdated the minute we get them. That's why I wanted Sam to give you a little more updated on how we're all doing, because I think you're doing great. Other comments? We did get the report from the subcommittee that reported back. Make sure I have it here. And I'm not sure if you had a chance to look at it yet. The subcommittee that reported back on the makeup for the inspections bill. We have a bill we're holding to do that. So if you haven't had a chance, take a look at it. The next work session, we will go through it and make sure everybody has a chance to voice up and see what you think, and we'll make a decision on that one as well. Chairman Martin, anything you would like to make sure the committee sees and hears? I don't think so. Danny, are you around? Danny Martin?
His name is there, but
yeah,
it's
okay.
blacked out. So
I guess not. Anybody else have any comments, questions?
He's got work being done at his house. Somebody cut a power cord.
It could very well be. Did 8 bills today. That's really, really good. And I think we did them almost as good as before, and now in 30 minutes. So that was good. Appreciate all your hard work. Anything else, Darlene?
Yep, I need some votes from Representative Martin and Representative Dustin White, if you don't mind.
No,
Yep,
don't
go
mind
ahead.
at all. Make sure we make them unanimous.
Yeah, I know, huh? Okay, LD 836 was the insurance requirements, and the motion was ought not to pass. Representative Martin?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. And Representative White?
Yes.
Okay. Then 662 was ought to pass as amended. Police discretion to allow the use of light bars on emergency vehicles, and that's ought to pass as amended.
Yes.
Was that Representative Martin that just said yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And Representative White?
Yes.
Okay. 6:45, create the electronic titling work group, and that was ought to pass as amended and ought not to pass. Representative Martin? Oh, you already
Yes.
voted on that one. Okay. And Representative White?
Did I already vote on that one already?
No.
All right. I'm going to be on the ought not to pass.
Okay. And 689 is to allow trucks to use the leftmost lane, and that was ought not to pass. Representative Martin
Yes.
and Representative White, you voted on that one.
Yeah, I believe I did vote on that
Yeah,
one.
you did. Okay, good. All I need is Senator Chipman now.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And we'll see you all Thursday. Good work, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be getting emails, right, Darlene?
Email, maybe not. I don't know.
No, I mean on all these, any that are not unanimous, that's how it works. We get all
I
those
only email.
Confirmation.
Oh, yes, because there's a couple divided reports. So Casey will
Right.
send you, somebody in that office will send you an email.
I'll watch for them.
They're leaving me out of the loop until you guys misbehave.
Hey, see you later and thank you.
You're welcome. We'll see you
Good
on
luck
Thursday.
Thursday too. I'm sure
All right.
that'll go fine.
Thank you. Bye. Transportation. Hi.